In our last episode, we began following Roberta and Bill aboard the Nantucket Clipper, traveling the Intracoastal Waterway from Charleston, South Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. We left them at the St. Helena's Episcopal Church in Beaufort, South Carolina. The church's wooden altar was carved by the crew of the USS New Hampshire while stationed near here following the Civil War.
Most people who land here just find an amazing amount of history and culture and friendliness in a sort of untapped environment as it relates to growth and major development. And we actually have people who will actually dock at the marina and stay overnight with us, and people who will dock at the marina and come and have dinner and meet friends, and more people are discovering that. I'm not going to pretend to know all the docking fees and so forth, but I will tell you up and down the Intracoastal Waterway, this is an extreme value. It's easy in and out. It's easy walking distance to everywhere.
Near Beaufort is the Parris Island Recruit Depot, where the Marine Corps trains over 17,000 recruits each year. So what is a Marine?
The term's been around for ages. We actually took the term from the British and the Dutch back in the colonial era and formed a Marine Corps just as they did. The term signifies a soldier who would serve with a naval ship, and that's why he was termed a Marine instead of a soldier, because he served aboard a ship at sea.
So it was transported by ship, but could fight on land.
Correct, absolutely.
All female recruits and all males recruited east of the Mississippi River are trained here in a 12-week program.
Normally, we never restrict the Intracoastal Waterway. There were a few periods over the last couple of years because of force protection concerns. We had boats in the water, and we're keeping boats away from our shore, but we don't restrict the waterway. On the west side of the island is the Broad River, and on the north side of the island, Archer's Creek. We normally close Archer's Creek, which is useful for smaller boats getting between the two rivers because it's part of the impact area of our rifle range. But we've never interfered with any access to the Intracoastal Waterway.
Our next stop, Savannah, Georgia.
We have to make log entries as we go, and at least once an hour we make a log entry. Like in an airplane, before we leave our dock, we do an operational checklist. Before we come into a dock, we do an operational checklist, and we log those. Any problems that we would have would be logged. We log the amount of fuel on board, the amount of water on board. Any crew changes are logged. Any disciplinary actions that might be taken have to be put in the official log. And the navigational log serves as the record, the legal record of where the ship has been, and if there was ever an accident, the Coast Guard would use that to help determine what happened prior to the accident.
We docked in Savannah's harbor, the 10th largest container port in the United States.
I'm so happy to welcome you to Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, thank you for showing us this.
It's my pleasure. We are in Forsyth Park, which is 20 acres of parkland in the most preserved planned city of North America. And we also have the finest urban forest in the land.
Beautiful.
There's so much public space. For example, not only this park, but we have 21 of our original 24 squares. They're about an acre each throughout our 2 square mile historic district. It's very peaceful here. And we have layers and layers of history. From the time of the native peoples to the present, we've had the second bloodiest battle, the Revolutionary War here. We had, of course, the war between the states, or some call it the War of Northern Aggression or the Late Unpleasant.
I've heard that.
Yes. In fact, General Sherman came, but he was charmed, like everybody else, by this fine town. And in fact, our troops evacuated the night before, so he came in with his 60,000 men and just made himself at home, stayed in one of our finest houses, and sent a telegram to Abraham Lincoln, mind you, from here, which said, "Dear sir, I beg to give you as a Christmas gift, the city of Savannah just gave us away."
Oh, dear.
That's a fact.
The Ships of the Sea Maritime Museum is located in the Scarborough House, built in 1819 for the principal owner of the Savannah, the first steamship to cross the Atlantic Ocean. The museum's collections feature paintings, maritime antiques, and ship models reflecting the history of Atlantic trade and travel. Much of Savannah's charm lies in the architectural beauty of its historic district, one of America's largest. Savannah is one of America's most haunted cities. Many visitors take guided tours of its cemeteries, where voodoo, we are told, is still practiced. Savannah is also one of America's most historically significant African-American communities.
We're in First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America. The congregation dates back to 1773, but we're in the 5th location, land purchased 1832. The building completed in 4 years by 1859, the architect remains unknown. They had membership of roughly 2,600, and every man, woman, and child worked on the building. At the most, I worked 12 and 16 hours on the plantation.
I like being a Girl Scout and doing our service projects and then finding out how it really changes the way they think about the city and the people that are in Girl Scouts.
The person who we honor in the home is Juliet Gordon Lowe. She was born and raised in this house, and she founded Girl Scouting right here in Savannah on March 12th, 1912.
I like to be in Girl Scouts because I get to be with all my friends.
Girl Scouts can earn merit badges in boating.
They have to learn how to be safe and to feel good about being out on the water and choosing the correct clothing to wear that's appropriate to being out in the sailing. They have to learn to watch the wind and the weather patterns to know if it's a good time to go out into the boat. They have to go by the Coast Guard motto, Semper Paratus, always ready to take care of other boats that are in distress. So that's something that I think is really great. They have checklists that they have to go through. They have to concentrate on launching, leaving and landing to know how to actually launch the boat and go out onto the water, master the maneuvering, and this is a good one, avoid collisions.
Well, I would hope so.
You know, we don't want to have any collisions when we're out on the water. Know how to get where you're going and how to get there. And then I like the idea of highlighting good sportsmanship, that the group of girls have to work together as a team if they're sailing to actually be able to accomplish the task at hand. And then they can also interview people and learn about maritime skills too.
Well, it would seem to me that in this area there would be plenty of opportunities for young girls to earn this patch.
Well, there's water everywhere in Savannah. We have the Savannah River, and we have the Intracoastal Waterway. Then off Tybee Island, there's lots of kayaking. So there's water everywhere in Savannah.
I guess I like it because everything about it is really fascinating.
What's the ultimate overarching objective of Girl Scouting?
To me, the number one thing is that we build leaders one girl at a time.
Yes.
And we want girls to have the opportunity to develop their leadership skills and to become the very best individual that they can become.
Paula Dean was newly divorced and unemployed when she started a small catering business with her 2 sons.
I think when people go off, they can ride down the road and they can see signs that say home cooking, come in, home cooking. And when actuality, when you walk in, it might taste like it's from a can.
Yeah.
And so people are so blown away when they come in here that we're actually giving them home cooking.
Yes.
We're giving them the real deal. And I think they're a little surprised by that in this day of quick.
And we are here, we work at, each of us takes 6 days a week on and 1 day off. And they see us here and they actually see that it's a woman and sons. And so many women in America can relate to Mom and her situation when she started her business, that if you can't get a little inspired by what we've been able to do with nothing but really family and love and a little talent, you're unable to be inspired. It's what I take away from this business with my family. Growing it up from nothing is, there's not a blank on a deposit ticket for the treasure that I take from this business.
Oh, marvelously said. Well, there's obviously a lot of love in this family.
That's kept us together.
And I think that probably draws the patrons in as much as anything.
South of Savannah is the Tybee Island Lighthouse.
The lighthouse itself stands 156 feet tall. It's one of the tallest lighthouses along the eastern seaboard. In fact, all first order lights had to be at least 100 feet tall. So it marks some treacherous waters along the coastline and serves to warn mariners of those hazards at least 20 miles out to sea. Very briefly, a day mark is the paint pattern or color that a lighthouse is identified with. In the case of Tybee Light, our day mark is a black lighthouse with a white band. There are a variety of day marks. No two are alike along any coast. That way, a ship passing along a coastline would reference a guide to mariners, a navigational chart, be able to look at the lighthouse, see that plotted on a chart, and be able to identify his location based on the color of the day mark of that particular lighthouse.
We next visited Brunswick, Georgia, which may or may not be the place Brunswick stew was invented. The city is a major seafood processing port. At this time of year, the shrimp fleet is readying its boats for the spring shrimping season, which begins in May. Brunswick has many examples of Victorian architecture, including the Mahoney McGarvey House, one of Georgia's finest Carpenter Gothic structures, and the 1907 Glynn County Courthouse, surrounded by tongue and Chinese pistachio trees. And a 23-foot model of a Liberty ship is exhibited in Mary Ross Waterfront Park.
How many ships were built here in Brunswick?
There were 99 ships built here. The 100th ship was never built. The war ended and they did not complete that one. But 99 ships were turned out here, and this particular shipyard is the only shipyard out of all of them that produced 7 ships in 1 month.
Oh.
They only produced about 4 a month, and the government asked to produce 6 1 month. And so they turned out, everybody went to work, and they worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and they turned out 7 ships. And they worked on the Christmas day, and that day people turned their money back in, and they worked free on that particular day.
Brunswick is the gateway to Georgia's Golden Barrier Islands. Spanish explorers visited here looking for gold, but instead found these picturesque islands, including Jekyll, once an exclusive winter retreat for some of America's wealthiest families.
Look at this. This is where the stables are for Jekyll Island.
Hi, Lily. Hello.
You can ride these horses on the beach. Hi.
Oh, good
This
girl.
is Lily. Hi, Lily.
Good girl.
Yeah, you're a good horse.
Industrialists, including J.P. Morgan and William Rockefeller, bought the island in 1886 and formed the Jekyll Island Club. They built a clubhouse and a cluster of cottages now preserved by the state of Georgia.
We have a great deal of people come by boat to the island. We actually have 2 wonderful access points so that you can get different experience. We have a very nice modern marina with all the conveniences, but then you can also arrive, as the club members did, at the Jekyll Island Club Wharf that was built to welcome club members in the 19-teens.
The largest of the Golden Isles is St. Simon's, with its 1872 lighthouse, still a working light, and restored lighthouse keeper's home and museum. The original light was completed in 1811, but destroyed by retreating Confederate troops to prevent Union ships from safely landing here. Today, a safe and popular spot for vacationers. In 1736, John and Charles Wesley held services here on the grounds of Christ Church.
This is St. Mary's Waterfront Park. Isn't this a beautiful gazebo? I bet you a lot of people have gotten married here.
Yeah.
This is lovely.
Be a great place for a Dixieland band.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look out at the waterfront.
And then you see this beautiful harbor front. This is really great.
And they've done such a nice job with the flowers.
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Oh, this fountain is great. It's an antique fountain.
Yeah?
The birdies can get a drink.
In St. Mary's Oak Grove Cemetery, brick walls were built around the headstones to protect the graves from foraging cows. Soldiers from every war America has fought are buried here. St. Mary's is the second oldest city in America, with many of its finest homes located in the historic downtown district. Since St. Mary's is the departure point for tours to Cumberland Island, the Cumberland Island National Seashore Museum, operated by the National Park Service, is here. Boaters can find laundry services in the corner of this candy and sandwich shop, and accommodations at the turn-of-the-century Riverview Hotel, once run by three sisters. A 30-minute boat ride across the ICW takes us to Cumberland Island, where only 300 people are permitted to visit daily, ensuring the island's natural setting is preserved. Once docked, it's a short walk to Grayfield, built in 1901 by Lucy and Thomas Carnegie for their daughter Margaret. It's now operated as an inn by Margaret's daughter. The 18-mile-long island is made up of forest, marsh, and beach, and home to over 300 species of birds. The Carnegies built Dungeness in the 1880s, and Lucy lived here until her death in 1916. The house was then closed, and in 1959, tragically destroyed by a fire. Plum Orchard, built in 1898 for the Carnegies' son George and his wife, was donated to the National Park Service by the Carnegies and is being restored. Cumberland is famous for its wild horses, which have free rein to roam the island and its 16 miles of beaches. In 1971, most of the Carnegie property was sold or donated to the Park Service, and a year later, the island became a national seashore with only about 20% of the island still privately owned. It was time to return to our ship, which was headed for our final port, Jacksonville, Florida.
The Cummer Museum of Art and Gardens was established in 1961 by a bequest from Nina Cummer. Nina and her husband Arthur were in a family lumber business, and the Cummers were collectors, and Mrs. Cummer was an avid gardener. And there are 3 garden rooms right now, the English garden, the Italian garden, and then the putting green, which was Mr. Cummer's putting green. You not only have this wonderful exterior work of art or works of art, but you can also tour wonderful collections inside the museum. By the time Mrs. Cummer died in 1958, there were about 60 important works that form the nucleus of this collection, and right now we have 6,000 works, and they encompass the history of human creation from the ancient world of Egypt, 2000 BC, to the 20th century in America and Europe.
Well, we hope to see fabulous yachts pulling up to the Cummer in the future.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming today. We're delighted to have you.
Jacksonville is a city built on the water. Hotels, parks, and restaurants line the water, and water taxis take people to and from attractions on both sides of the St. Johns River. This city of 800,000, with a football stadium on the waterfront, won a Super Bowl bid.
Well, the Super Bowl is really a dream come true for our community. Jacksonville is relatively small when you compare it to the other Super Bowl host cities. So really a group of community leaders got together and decided to pursue the 2005 game, and it soon became apparent that we were lacking in the number of high-quality hotels. We have a certain amount, but we didn't meet the 17,500 requirement of the NFL. So what we did was we decided to bring in cruise ships to service floating hotels along the river. And ironically enough, what started as perhaps a compensation to a potential negative became the driving force of our bid.
We visited nearby Fernandina on Amelia Island before deciding to get out on the water in kayaks at Kayak Amelia in the Talbot Island State Park.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey,
I'm doing great. Ready to go kayaking?
Oh, yeah.
Jody?
Bill had to be fitted for a kayak. Large turned out to be the right size.
That's positive attitude.
Yeah, that's what it takes, right? Well, you've got it here.
Now, this is like when we were on the Nantucket Clipper. We're holding our position, awaiting the tide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kayaking is a low-impact sport that allows paddlers to enjoy our waterways at a leisurely pace. As with anything to do with boating, training is important. Ray and Jody ran through a series of basic safety drills, including a balance drill and a wet exit drill.
Once you get out on the water, this will make a lot more sense when you see how the boat behaves with what you do.
Prior to Roberta and Bill's visit, they had trained nearly 10,000 kayakers, and only 28 found themselves in the water. Let's see how our guys do.
How's it going, kid?
Hey.
I'm on my way back.
Here she comes. Wow. What a great experience. Okay, come on, honey.
There we go.
There. Oh, thank you. That was great.
To get to the beaches of Jacksonville, we boarded the only public auto ferry in Florida.
This is GPS, we have radar, and we have 2 radio stations. We stay in channel 13 and 16. We stay in with all the traffic controllers. Ladies and gentlemen, we're making our approach. Please stand by for a slight bump. On behalf of the city of Jacksonville and Homeblown Marine Services, the crew and myself, thank you for riding the ferry, Jingle Boat, and have a very nice evening.
Jacksonville is the home of the nation's first Red Cross life-saving group.
Well, first of all, we're the only volunteer organization like this around. We volunteer for the American Red Cross on Sundays and holidays. We have been around since 1912, so it's, what, 90-some years running now, and it's a great organization. Meet a lot of new people, do a good service, and have a lot of fun doing it. We have a recruit class, 2 recruit classes a year. They average between 12 and 14 weeks long, and they are every Sunday. They come down and we have minimum requirements they have to meet as far as swimming, running, life-saving, going out there and pulling a victim in. We teach them first aid, CPR, all the spinal immobilizations, and everything needed in order to get them safely to the emergency room. A lot of people say the job's easy, and it has its perks, but it's really a stressful job. We don't come out here and just sit on the beach and relax. We're on the edge of our seat and on our toes all day long, but it's well worth it.
Here in Jacksonville, we tie up this episode of Cruising America's Waterways. See you next time.
How you doing? My name is Jake Haskell. I'm from Queens, New York.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Chapman, and I'm from Lexington, South Carolina. And I've been with Clipper 3 years off and on. I started as a housekeeper, and now I'm a deckhand.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Cortez, and I'm the executive chef at the Nantucket Clipper.
My name is Matt Hill. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I'm a deckhand on board, and I've been here for 2 weeks, actually.